Take a subtopic, cash. Cash. Take a subtopic, cash. So what do you mean by cash? Cash can mana? Salary, right? But according to the standard, anyway, not according to the standard also, but in practice, you know, cash comprises two types of cash. What are those? Cash in hand and cash at bank. All the cash at bank, can you take under cash at bank? All the cash at bank, can you take as cash at bank? There are different type of accounts which you can maintain at bank. What are those? You can maintain savings accounts, fixed deposits and current accounts. Can all these three be taken under cash? Answer is no. You can take only the cash you are maintaining bank current accounts. Therefore, cash means cash in hand plus cash in demand deposits. Demand deposits are the other current accounts, money in current accounts, right? These two type of cash you call as cash at, as cash, right? Then you will write cash under that. Cash comprises cash in hand and cash in demand deposits. So that is the term given in LK 7, that is why I use the term. But you know, demand deposit is nothing but the current accounts. Right? Then take a topic, cash equivalents. What do you mean by cash equivalents? It's not cash. So what is the difference between cash and cash equivalents? The liquidity is not 100%, but it's almost 100%, right? When converting a certain investment, where if there is any risk of not converting into money, if the risk is insignificant, and if you are able to convert this into money without significant losses, right? Those are cash equivalent, not cash. When you take the liquidity position, those are not much as cash, bit lower to cash, but still high liquid. Understand? So those you call as cash equivalent. So the best example we can give for the cash equivalent is treasury bills, where the redemption period is near. Near means, normally we take, if the treasury bills are there, which are to be matured within a period of 3 months, right? So that is the best example we can take in Sri Lankan context for the cash equivalents. Understand? But in some countries there may be some other securities, but here, as the government short-term securities, we can take only the treasury bills, right? As it's a government security only, we can say the risk is low, no risk actually. Why? When converting treasury bills into money, we are much sure the default risk is zero. When it goes to the government securities, right, the default risk is zero. So if you have invested money in any security, right, which has been issued by any government, we say where the default risk is zero. But you know what happened to the people invested in Sri Lanka development bonds, right? We defaulted that Sri Lanka, right? Therefore, the international community considered Sri Lanka as a bankrupt country because we could not settle the money for the development bonds. Development bond means it's not treasury bills. Those are some bonds issued for overseas countries to obtain funds. So those are called as the development bonds. Sri Lankan government to obtain some funds we have issued some securities. For those securities that the payment was due on June, right? We did not settle that, and that's why we were classified as a bankrupt country. Understand? So that is something very serious, right? Okay, we are in a bankrupt country, but don't worry, right? Next we can be no problem. Right now, cash equivalents. Cash equivalents are high liquid. Cash equivalents are high liquid investments and if there is any loss, to convert it to money. If there is loss to convert into money, that is insignificant. That is insignificant. That is insignificant. Example. Treasury bills. With a near maturity period. Treasury bills with a near maturity period. You know the meaning of maturity? Maturity again, the date those are repaid or the settled, right? That is a maturity time. Okay. Then take a topic, cash flows. Cash flows. Cash flows. So what do you mean by cash flows? There are two types of cash flows. What are those? Cash inflows and outflows. मतलब अभी क्या है cash flows के लिए क्या है both inflows and outflows of cash and cash equivalents. So in this standard we are not talking only about cash, right? Always we discuss cash and cash equivalent because even cash equivalents we take as a part of almost cash. Understand? Right? Cash flows. Cash flows consist both inflows and outflows. Inflows and outflows in both inflows and outflows in cash and cash equivalents. Cash and cash equivalents. Both inflows and outflows in cash and cash equivalents. Right. Are those clear? Now, the most important part of the standard, as I feel, when you are given cash receipts and payments, right, you should be able to categorize these receipts and payments under three categories. That may be the area many students face some difficulties. When you are given a cash flow, right, you have to decide, is it an operating activity, investing activity or financing activity, right? So actually in the cash flow statement, simply what we are doing, once the cash receipt or payment is given, you have to decide, this is a operating activity, this is a financing activity, like this, right? So then I think that requires some explanations, and I'll give you some shortcuts to identify whether this is an operating activity, financing activity or investing activity. Understand? Now, take a topic, operating activities. Operating activities. Operating activities. Operating activities. Excellent. Operating activities. Right. What do you mean by operating activities? Operations. Right. What is an operating activities can you look at? Operation effect can you look at? Operation right. In when it comes to a business, what do you mean by an operation? Right. If I ask in this way, what is the main operation in a business? What is the main operation in a business? Actually, selling. Sales. To sell. Day-to-day activity is what? Sales. Because in some businesses, the purchasing and the production, they may not be doing daily basis, right? Always, but they sell goods always. If there is a batch production, they purchase inventories today for as sufficient for 2 months. Then they produce some goods until bulk of goods are sold. They do not start production then, right? But if they are having a flow production or the process production only, they are continuing their production. Therefore, we can say when you take the daily activity of a business, probably that will be sales, right? So the activities which are connected with sales plus the other activities which are connected with sales, you can take as operations. Understand? According to LKS 7, operating activities are the activities which are connected with main revenue producing activities. So the main revenue producing activity is sales. But if it is a service business, it's providing services. Understand? So the term is nice. Main revenue producing activities and other activities. That's how they define this. Understand? Operating activities are the activities which are connected with main revenue producing activities and other activities. There may be some other activities as well. Understand? Remember, although it's told in this way, sometimes in the exam or when you are doing questions, that may be hard for you to determine whether this is operation or investing or something, right? Therefore, I ask you, when recognizing these activities, use this shortcut. That will be really easy for you. If this is the profit and loss and OCI, this is profit and loss statement, this is SOFP. You know the details given in profit and loss statement, you know, sales, cost of sales, then gross profit, other income, distribution expenses, administration expenses, other expenses, financing expenses, then profit before tax minus taxes, to take the profit for the year. You know this, right? And when you take the SOFP, non-current assets, current assets, equity, stated capital, reserves, non-current liabilities and current liabilities. This is SOFP. when you take the operating activities, right, for your convenience, if it is an operating activities, remember this is the statement which we prepare to show our operations. You know what is the net profit? Profit is nothing but the operating result for business. Right? In case you are given an MCQ question, what is the statement to prepare for calculating operating result? What is it? Profit statement. Right? Here is the place you show your operations. You understand what I am saying? The sales is the main operation. To sell, you need to purchase. Likewise, there are some operations. Is it clear? So then we are going to recognize here the cash flows with respect to operations, not all the operations. Even a depreciation may be operation, but it's not a cash flow. Understand? So in this lesson, we want to recognize what are the cash flows relevant to operations. Is that clear what I am saying? So when you are to recognize cash flows from operations, use this one. I think that will be easy. When you come to sales, what are the cash flows may be hidden in sales? You can easily recognize two cash flows there. If the sales is on cash basis, you can straight away take receipts from sales, cash sales. Understand? But if you sold your goods on credit basis, instead cash sales, you will get money from debtors. Right? Let's count then how many cash flows I told you with respect to operating activities? 2. What are those? Cash sales, receipts from debtors. Is it clear? When you go to purchases, cost of sales, that include purchases. Again, in purchases there are 2 cash flows. What are those? Cash purchases, payment to creditors. Now, they are operating activities, right? What are those? Man, rule to can buy, but those are not make a game of nothing, right? What are those? Cash sales, receipts from debtors. Then cash purchases, payment to creditors. Is it clear? How many cash flows I told you? 4 cash flows. Then, when you take this expenses part here, all the operating expenses you can take as operating cash flows. Then if you ask, so what are the operating expenses? Remember, operating expenses are the expenses which you require to pay to maintain our day-to-day activities. Without making those payments, you cannot run the business. Right? In simple, you can say all the administrative expenses and distribution expenses in total you can take as operating expenses. Understand? In case you are given a term called operating expenses, remember that includes administration and distribution expenses. Right? So within the lesson, probably I will not use these 2 categories of expenses. In total, I will use the term operating expenses. Understand? Remember, operating expenses, the term will include a bulk of expenses. All administration expenses and all distribution expenses. Understand? With that, how many examples I gave you for operations? 5 examples. What are those? Cash sales, receipts from debtors, cash purchases, payable creditors, operating expenses. 5, right? Now, when you calculate the net profit before tax, on that profit you have to pay taxes. Why do you pay the taxes? As you generate the profit by doing operations. As there is a profit from operations, you will have to pay taxes. Payment of taxes. What is that? Another operation. Now how many operations? 6 operations I told you. What are those? Cash sales, receipts from debtors, cash purchases, payable creditors, taxes, operating expenses paid and cash flow is here. Why? Already come here. Hurry, lazy the man. Well, owner like that. Now, as far as we discuss 6 operations, then okay. 6 operations. How many operations I discussed? 6 operations. Then I will discuss the investing activities. The meaning investment is, if you have invested your money in a business, in a long-term source, once you put money there in that source, you don't take it back for a long time, 4 years of time. If you have employed your money in some long-term areas, those are investments. Understand? But when it's told in this way, you might not understand. I have shown that. When it's told as investments, right, you quickly think, investments. This is the area in SO, non-current assets. If you have invested your money in this area, what are the components which are usually common in non-current assets? Property, plant and equipment. Then right of use assets, intangible assets, and some investments. Is it clear? When you take the non-current assets, that is the area which you put your money for a long time. Agree? So there, if you have invested, if you have employed or obtained money back with respect to these areas, you can take those are investments. Simple, isn't it? Purchase of property, plant and equipment. That's an investment. Sale of property, plant and equipment. Investment. Right? For the right of use assets, actually wait. Because there is no any cash flow with respect to obtaining right of use assets. Right? You purchase that on credit basis. Understand? So don't take it here. Intangible assets. If you have paid any money to acquire intangible assets, for acquiring trademarks, you have paid money. You can take that as an investment for a long time. Understand? Acquisition of intangible assets. And if you have sold intangible asset back, you will get money back. Understand? Then, investments, and investment you can take fixed deposits and share investment, basically. If you have invested your money in a fixed deposit, it's for a long time. That's an investing activity. And if you have obtained money back from your fixed deposits, again, investing activity. If you have purchased shares, that's an investment. If you have sold your shares back, again investment. Now how many investments I told you? Purchase of PPE, sale of PPE. Purchase of intangible assets, sale of intangible assets. Investing money in fixed deposits, withdrawing money from fixed deposits. Investing money in shares, withdrawing money from shares. Clear? Should be 8, right? It's 8. I didn't know. Cash flow statement. Right, no problem like this. How many investing activities I told you? 8. Is it clear? Sure? Activity. Cash sales. Operating. Receipts from debtors. Operating activity. Paid electricity. Paid income tax. Purchase a land. Sold a motor vehicle. Invested in shares. Deposited money in a fixed deposit. Investment. Advertising expenses. Operation. Right. And purchase an intangible asset. Then what? I para kya investment thi? Purchase of PPE, sale of PPE, purchase of intangible assets, sale of intangible assets, fixed invested money in fixed deposit, withdrawing money from fixed deposits, investing money in shares, withdrawing money from shares. Now, if you have invested your money in a fixed deposit, in return what would you get? Interest. Right? You get an interest for your fixed deposits. Why do you get interest? As you invested money. Investing money in a fixed deposit is an investing activity. If you withdraw that money from the fixed deposit, again that's an investing activity. If those are so, when you get an interest on your investment, that also should be an investing activity. Agree? There. හැදිරිද? ෆික්ස් ඩිපොසිට් එකක සල්ලි දානකොට ඒක ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් එකක් නම්. දාපු සල්ලි විත්ඩ්‍රෝ කර ගන්නකොටත් ඒක ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් එකක් නම්. ඒකට අපිට හම්බෙන ඉන්ට්‍රස්ට් එක හම්බෙන්නේ as a result for the investment. Therefore, remember, received interest should be an investment. මේවා කනගාටු කරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. with logic you have to understand. නැත්නම් ගණන් හදන්න කියලා ඇසි අලුත් එකක් කවුද හිතාගන්නේ. You should have the logic. Is it clear? Logical, right? So by the way, you can argue with yourself again. If you have purchased shares in the share market, investing money in shares is a investing. If you sell your shares back, investing. If you have invested your money in shares, in return you will get dividend received. You receive dividend as you invested. So the receipts of dividend is again an investment. Is it clear? Simple. Now how many investing activities I told you? 10. What are those? Purchase of TV, sale of TV, purchase of intangible assets, sale of intangible assets, purchase, investing money in fixed deposits, withdrawing money from fixed deposits, purchase of investment in shares, sale of shares, receipts of interest, receipt of dividend. How many operations I told you? 6. What are those? Cash sales, receipts from debtors, cash payments, payment to creditors, operating expenses paid, tax paid. Clear? Right. One more thing. What is that? Financing activities. The financing means that is collecting funds. To invest somewhere, you have to raise funds. That's the correct word. Raising funds. You want to raise funds. Understand? So the activities which are connected to raising funds are financing activities. See, if you know how to prepare SOFP, when it goes to your statement of financial position, this is the asset side. This is where you have invested your money. So the other side, equity and liabilities. So these are the sources which shows how you have collected money, finance money. Understand? These are the areas where you have invested money in long-term sources. Just forget the current assets and current liabilities, those are shown. When you go to your equity and non-current liabilities, you see, that's how you have obtained money. When it's a financing, right, you have to focus here towards stated capital and non-current liabilities. So this is the area relevant financing. That's for sure. Financing क्या थी मतलब किन्होंने आपको financing ठीक है? Okay, with respect to reserves, there are no cash flows. You can go. Reclamation reserve that doesn't generate any cash flow. Transfers to general reserve that does not generate any cash flows. Okay? So with respect to your reserves, no cash flows. So when it's told as financing, should be stated capital and non-current liabilities. If there are changes in these, definitely those will generate financing cash flows. Understand? Under the stated capital, what is the first thing you see? Ordinary shares. With respect to ordinary shares, you can issue ordinary shares. And if you want, you can repay money for your ordinary shares. That is called as redemption. According to the Company Act, if you want, you can redeem ordinary shares. It's not there in our syllabus, but According to the Company Act number 7 of 2007, if you want, you can redeem your ordinary shares. Redeem means you have to go to share market and purchase your own shares from your own money. With that, the share will be cancelled. It's there in the Company Act. Right? So, with respect to ordinary shares, there are two cash flows. Tell me what are those? Issuing ordinary shares and redemption of ordinary shares. Both are financing activities. Then, when you come here to non-current liabilities, what are the things that are non-current liabilities? Bank loan. With respect to bank loan, there are two cash flows. Obtaining bank loan and repayment of bank loan. What are the other non-current liabilities? Maybe debentures. Issuing debentures and redemption of debentures. Amaru. And again, what are the financing activities I told you? You may have struggled how to decide whether this is financing, operating or something, right? But that's a shortcut. When it comes to financing, tell me again, what are the financing activities? Issuing shares, redemption of shares, obtaining bank loans, repaying bank loans, issuing debentures, redemption of debentures. What are the other non-current liabilities? If you have obtained any asset on lease terms, right of use basis. With that, when you obtain the asset, there is no any cash flow which you get. Why? When you purchase an asset on lease basis, you will get the asset. You have the asset account debit, lease creditors account credit. But remember, at the time you repay that, there is a cash outflow. Understand? When you settle money to your lease creditors, it's a, listen please, it's a financing activity. Then repayment of money for the lease creditors, that is the repayment of money, not the interest portion, the capital portion. Clear? That's also part of financing activities. Now tell me how many financing activities I told you up to now. Number one, equity. Issuing shares, redemption of shares, obtaining bank loan, repayment of bank loan, issuing debentures, redemption of debentures, payment money to lease creditors. How many financing activities I told you? 7 financing activities. Is it clear? Ani anu kanattu more than now you bahat kariya company. Igel more than that okay. Nek. Ikut. Parakku nek. Parakku. Tapi ai kattat gaya. Nawa gene ganne. Ani anu hari nidhi mata paata yani gile. Gile hari mono da dia. Right. Now, I am very important thing about that. Yan mo then. Right. Ikman again. What are the operations I told you quickly? Cash sales, receipt from debtors, cash purchases, payment creditors, operating expenses paid, tax paid. Is there only 6? Yes. So what are the investing activities I told you? Purchase of PP, sale of PP, purchase of intangible assets, sale of intangible assets, investment in fixed deposits, withdrawing fixed deposits, investing in shares, sale of shares, then interest received, dividend received. What are the financing activities I told you? Issue of shares, redemption of shares, obtaining bank loans, repayment of bank loans, issue of debentures, redemption of debentures, payment money to lease creditors. And you know, when you issue shares, it's a financing activity. If you repay money, if you redeem your shares, that also financing activities. When you raise funds by issuing shares, then with that there will be shareholders. What is the return for the shareholders? We have to pay dividends. Issuing shares is a financing activity. Repayment of money for shares, in case you have redeemed those, that also financing. So if you pay any dividend for those shareholders, that also should be financing. Another financing activity, payment of dividends. But remember, receiving dividend Is an investing activity. Why? You receive dividend if you have invested in something. Clear? But the payment of dividend is a financing activity. The reason to pay dividend as you have issued shares. Is it clear? One more thing. Obtaining a bank loan is a financing. Obtaining a bank loan is a financing. If you have repaid the bank loan, financing. Bank loan එකක් ගන්නකොට ඒක financing. When you are repaying that, again it's a financing. In return for the bank loan, you have to pay interest. So if you have paid interest for the bank loan, that should be a theoretically that should be a financing activity. But remember, we do not take payment of interest on loans under financing activity. That is taken under operating activities. ඔක්කොම හරියට දෙන අන්තිම මොහොතේ කෑවා. තේරුණාද? ඒකම එතෙන්ද කිව්වේ නැත්තේ ඒකයි. When you pay interest on bank loans, don't take that as a financing activity. You have to take that under operations. Why? යරදීනේ. ඒක වෙන්න බෑනේ. ඇයි මේක එතකොට ගන්නේ ඔපරේෂන් එකක්? should be finance. කියන්න බලන්න ඇයි? Yeah, one idea is we obtain bank loan for our daily activities. ඉතින් ඒතර කෙනෙක්ගේ ෂෙයා ඉෂුව කරලා සල්ලි අරගෙන කරන්නේ. ෂෙයා ඉෂුව කරලා සල්ලි ගත්තා ඉතින් ඒක දෙන්නේ කරන්නේ. ඒතර ඒ කරනකොට ඒකට ගෙවන ඩිවිඩන්ඩ් ගෙවනකොට ඒක හොඳයි ෆයිනෑන්සින් කියන්නේ නේ බැංක් ලෝන් එක ඔපරේටින් ඉන්ටරෙස්ට් පෝෂන් දෙන්න ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවනේ you understand what I'm saying මම මේ දක්වා කියපු දේවල් ලොජිකල් වෙනවා මෙච්චරලා ලොජික් පෙන්නලා අන්තිමදී මැජික් පෙන්නන්න බෑ නේද ඒකම ගන්නේ ඇයි මේක විතරක් ඔයා කියන්නේ operating කියලා. Please answer this question. Yeah. You have to. බාගෙට අරගෙන යනකොට ගිල්ලා. Now, මේ උදේ පාන්දර හවස පන්තියේ ඉන්න උදේ පාන්දර යනවා. මට කවුරු හරි 6-4 දෙනෙක් සපෝට් කරනවා මම උස්සලා එළියට දාන්න ගියා බලන්න. Now, listen. Right. පන්තියක් ඇතුළේ උස්සලා එළියට දාන්න ආයි පාර කරනවා. Now, listen. Ani. මම අමාරු පාඩමක් කරලා ලොජික් හදාගෙන ලස්සනට යනවා. You know, cash flow statement is a lesson which it is very much interesting when it comes to even the indirect method. අපිට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් හොඳට ලොජික් එකකින් අපි ආගියු කරගෙන යනවා. හරියට ඉගෙන ගත්තොත් මේකයි ජීවිතේට මම වදිනවා. අමතක වෙන්නේ. right. මම හිතනවා මම අර නියුටු කරනවා. මට දැනුණා ඒවා දැක්කම මම පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න. Now, listen up please. So, කියන්නේ ගත්තා. Yeah, this is one. I told you here there are two finance. There සමහර ළමින්ට මෙච්චර logic code නැහැ. සමහර දැන් කරනවා හරි අපි දන්නවා. Interest rate is operating නේ. ඒක beyond logic. Okay. Now, so the stated when you obtain money by issuing shares is a financing, right? If you redeem those shares, again financing. And I told you if you pay any dividend, that also taken under financing. My question is, payment of dividend, is it affected the profit? Why? You pay dividend in the statement of changes in equity after obtaining the profit. Right? Until you calculate the profit for the year, you don't deduct dividends. Payment of interest, is it having any impact on the net profit? Yes, interest is somewhere here. Understand? Actually, this is the argument. When you pay interest, that will affect your profit. Profit is the operating result. By making interest payments, you can make changes in your profit. And there's a nice story. This is the real reason. In advanced finance, right? In finance, there are two businesses. Sales, say 500 in both businesses. Cost of sales, 200 in both businesses. GP, 300 in both businesses. Operating expenses and interest, say business A is a fully equity finance business, no loans here. In this business, there are equity as well as loans. Assume in this business, operating expenses 200, here also 200. Since this business is fully equity finance, nothing called interest. Assuming this business, interest also 100. When you take the profit before tax, this is 200, this is 100. Understand? If their tax rate is 50% on profit before tax, assume their tax is 50% on profit before tax. This is 50%, right? So in this business, the tax will be 100. Here, 50. Right? Profit for the year 100. Here the profit for the year 50. I want to emphasize something, that is, when you take the first business where there are no any loans, what is their tax amount? That is 100. In this business, there are loans. How much is their tax?
50.
What did you understand? When there are loans in a business, the tax is only 50. If there are no any loans, the tax is 100. Right? So which is profitable to a business? Obtaining loans or running business without loans? Obtaining loans is profitable, as that has a direct impact on taxes. Understand? So in advanced finance we discuss something. Always interest payment has a direct relationship between tax, with the taxes. When the interest component comes high, the tax component will come low. Understand? So there is a direct relationship between interest and taxes. When the interest is higher, the tax will be lower. When the interest becomes lower, the tax will be higher. The advice is, don't finance your business fully in equity. When it comes to big companies, you must have obtained some loans. Don't do the business without loans, then you will unnecessarily pay taxes to the government. Understand? If you want to save money, to have a good return in the business, obtain some loans. With that you will reduce your tax burden. Understand? This position in advanced finance we discuss as interest tax shield. Interest tax shield. With interest, there is a shield for the tax. Shield is a sort of a cover. අපිට interest එක තියෙනකොට tax වලට cover එකක් තියෙනවා. අපිට tax වලින් බේරෙන්න නම් loan ගන්න දෙපා. Payment of taxes is an operating activity. You all agreed. We pay taxes on the profit. Understand? There is a direct factor with which you can control the taxes. What is that? That is interest. You take tax as an operating activity. Therefore, with the interest you can control the tax. Therefore, interest must be an operating activity. This is the logic. අත්තම කතන්දරේ ඇයි එහෙනම් interest එක operation එකක් කියලා ගන්න. interest එකකින් tax එක monitor කරලා තියෙනවා. ඔය ඉන්සනාට ගිහලා accountant කෙනෙක් වුණොත් ඔක company එකකට handle කරන්න ගියොත් ඔයා ගොඩාක් එදාට හිතන්න ඕනේ tax එක අඩු කරන methods. දැන් මේක අපි company එකක් finance කරනකොට share issue කළත් loan එකක් ගත්තත් cost එකක් තියෙනවා. share issue කළොත් we have to pay dividend for the shareholders. ඔයා මේක finance කරගන්නේ loan එකකින් නම් you have to pay interest. හැබැයි ඔයා share issue කළා සල්ලි අරගෙන shareholders ලට ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. you have to repay money. හැබැයි ඒකත් එක්ක no impact on the tax. But if you obtain a loan to finance, anyway there is a payment. Anyway there is a payment, but with that you can control the tax also. එතන අපි share issue කරන option එකකටද යන්න ඕනේ? loan එක ගන්න option. loan එක ගන්න ඕනේ. තේරුණා? හැබැයි ඒක ගොඩක් වැඩි කරන්නේ. What's the reason? Loan is a fixed payment. Dividend is not a fixed payment. When there are profits, you can pay the dividend. But whether you are having profits or not, you have to pay the interest. Again, there are pros and cons. Loan එකෙන් tax එක අඩු වෙන එක හරි interest එක. හැබැයි loan එක ගත්තාම it's a fixed payment. Loan ගොඩාක් වැඩි වුණොත් එimhe there are so many fixed payments. Dividend එකේම කේස් එකක් නැහැ. තිබ්බොත් කිව්ව නැත්තම් නිකන් profit අඩු නම් අඩුවෙන් ගියෝ වැඩි නම් වැඩි ගියෝ. තේරුණා? ඔයාලා loan කියන එක දකින්න එපා බරක් විදියට. When it goes to finance, අපිට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් එදිනෙදා ගෙදර වැඩක් ගත්තාම loans කියන්නේ හිතෙන්නේ මොකද? Loans is a burden විදියට. But in business don't think. Loan means what? A source of funding. Both obtaining loans and issuing shares, both are what? Sources of funding. For both there is a prepayment, there is a return. You have to pay something. Cost is there. එම ගත්තට පස්සේ ඇත්තටම business එකකට what is the much profitable source of funding? Obtaining loan at a lower rate. If you can obtain a loan at a lower rate, that is much profitable than issuing shares. Is it clear? එතකොට ඇයි interest එක අපි ගන්නේ operation එකක් විදිහට? With interest you can control taxes. Therefore both interest and taxes you take under operations. Clear? ඉක්මනට summarize කරන්න. What are the operating activities I discussed? Cash sales, interest from debtors, cash purchases, payment creditors, operating expenses paid, tax paid, interest paid. How many? 7. Home mother diagram right? Right, 7. Then go to investing activities. What are the investing activities I told? Right? So what are the financing activities? Issue of shares, redemption of shares, obtaining bank loans, repayment of bank loan, issuing debentures, redemption of debentures, repayment to lease creditors, and payment of dividend. Right? Perfect. Understand. Do it together. Then only right? Now you can categorize your activities under these three categories. හරිනේ? අය අමතක කරගෙන මාගාවට එන්න එපා. Right? I want it right. Right. Yeah, there's a question. When you obtain an asset on lease basis, right? If you have made any down payment, that should be an investing, right? Payment of down payment, what is the down payment? Asset account debit, cash account debit. With that payment, asset has been increased. The remaining payable balance, asset account debit, lease creditors account debit. That is the financing part. Previous one is investing. Yes. No, in that case, we get the fixed deposit is not anyway operation. Something extra. If you deposited money in a fixed deposit, yeah, that goes to other income. So don't take that as an operation because you have invested money somewhere. That's much clear, right? You have invested money in a fixed deposit. Then you will get interest. Then if you are having some extra properties, when you rent out those, you will get the rent income. As you invested money there, you will get the income. Right? Right. Operating activities right out. There may be something cash flow statement අපි මේ A level එකේ කතා කරන්නේ. මම කියන්නේ payment of taxes. මොන activity කරන්නේ? operation. හැබැයි මතක තියාගන්න payment of taxes සමහර වෙලාවට business එකක investing activity එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. That depends on the business. අපි හිතමු මෙහෙම. Say there is a business. With operations there are no profits. But that business has invested money somewhere in the share market. For those investments they have got many dividends. There is a profit. That is not because of their operations, that is because they have invested money somewhere else. In that case, the profit of the business is due to investment income. Understand? Therefore, when you take just only operations, no taxes. But you have to pay the tax as you got some different sources of investment income. In that case, why do you pay taxes? Is it because of your operations? Is it because of operations? No. In that case, tax is what? Right? In that case, the tax should be investing activity. Then, the normal thing, normal condition. Right? But when it goes to the business and different situation, that may be different. So in advanced level, we are not going to discuss those areas. Right? So we are just discuss the standard things. This is there, this is there. But when it goes to practice, that may be different. Is it clear? Okay, right? Operating activities right there. Operating activities are main revenue producing activities. Main revenue producing activities and other activities. Main revenue producing activities and other activities. Get it clear? These activities can be recognized. These activities can be recognized with the activities in profit and loss statements. With the activities in profit and loss statement. Examples. Cash sales, receipts from debtors, cash purchases, payment to creditors, payment of operating expenses, payment of taxes, payment of interest. Then, investing activities. Investing activities. Right there. Investing activities are connected with employing money, employing, money in long-term sources. Long-term sources. Right? These can be recognized. These can be recognized with respect to non-current assets. In SOFT, non-current assets in SOFT. Examples: purchase and sale of PPE. Purchase and sale of PPE. Purchase and sale of property, plant and equipment PPE. Purchase and sale of PPE. Number 2. Purchase and sale of intangible assets. Right. Investing and withdrawing money. Investing and withdrawing money in fixed deposits. Then investment and resale of shares. Investment and resale of shares. Then interest received, dividends received. Interest receipts and dividends received. Finally, financing activities. Financing activities. Financing activities. These are the activities. These are the activities which affect to size and composition of the business. Size and composition of equity and loans. Size and composition of equity and loans. Okay. Those are connected to stated share capital and non-current liabilities. Stated share capital and non-current liabilities in SOFP. Example: issuing shares. Redemption of shares. Issuing shares. Redemption of shares. Redemption of shares. Obtaining bank loans. Repaying bank loans. issuing debentures, redemption of debentures, payment to lease creditors, payment of dividends. Right. Take the cues. Page number 33. Page number 33, the question. Page number 33, the question. Fill the following table indicating plus or minus and the relevant activity. You have to rate these, and if it is a receipt, you have to put plus here. And what is the activity, whether it is operating, financing, or investing. cash sales plus operating. Payment to creditors minus operating. Purchase of investments minus investing. Obtaining loans plus financing. Loan repayment minus financing. Purchase of assets minus investing. Investment income receipts plus investing. Sale of investments plus investing. Payment of taxes minus operating. Interest payment minus operating. Issue of shares plus financing. Dividend payments minus financing. Redemption of preference shares minus financing. Issue of debentures plus financing. Redemption of debentures minus financing. Purchase of treasury bills minus investing. Interest received plus investing. Dividend received plus investing. Sale of treasury bills plus investing. Purchase of lands minus investing. Hukum dihar. Kita dah jamak makar kan? Pulau. Terus mahidan ni orang lain kan lagi kita activity ka finance in the operating in this. Jadi memang sama ni bila sedang kita lupa lawan kan nanti nak. Yang nanti explanation ni kan itu mahidan orang patah lawan kan. Nanti kan nanti ada ni lah mati berlalu pun mungkin kerja. Hari. Maka dari perasaan sakit. Dibaca lah isu terbaik lagi. Apa dibaca ni? Apa dilakukan? Ya, pada isu dah dibaca. Okay. Apa dibaca? Company ke siapa? Company ke dibaca isu kali lah. Get mana? Plus finance. Right. Now take a topic in your book. Methods to prepare cash flow statements. Methods of preparing cash flow statements. Methods of preparing the cash flow statement. Methods of preparing the cash flow statement. So tell me, what are the methods we can prepare the cash flow statements? There are two methods. Direct method and indirect method. Right? Number one, direct method. Number two, indirect method. Direct method and indirect method. Take the subtopic, direct method. Direct method. That's a very easy. Direct method. But actually now it's easy. You can just label the activities. Then you can put activities under the labels. That's it. Right? Very simple. If you prepare the cash flow statement on direct method, there what we do is, right? You are going to categorize your cash flows under three categories. Straight away, nothing else, right? Under operating, investing and finance. They categorize cash flow statement. That is the direct method, right? Just put a note there. Very simple. Under this method, cash flows are separately stated. Cash flows are separately stated under different activities. Under different activities. Shall I go to the format? Never done format kita tidak tadi. Rule පහක් කියන තැනක ගහන්න එපා ලෝකකමට. right? කඩදාසි ගණන් තමයි එනවා ලෝක පේජ් එක. තාම ළමයි මාර ලෝකයි. මේ රූල් හතරයි තියෙන එතන පටන් ගන්නවා. බලපොළ. පොඩ්ඩක් ඉඳ දිනවා හිත දෙන්නේ නැහැ වෙන තැනකට යන්න දෙන්න කවන්නේ. හරි. First level is operating activities. Operating activities. We have cash sales. Cash sales is it plus or minus? Receipts from debtors plus cash purchases within brackets minus payment to creditors minus operating expenses paid. Don't write anything else. Operating expenses paid. There are two more things, right? What are those? Interest and tax, don't write me well. So when you prepare the cash flow statement, right, under direct or indirect, definitely, right, you have to take the net difference of these except, except taxes and interest. Because I told you there is a direct relationship between taxes and interest. Therefore, we have to show these two separately. අපි හැමෝම හිතමු එදින යාළුවෝ. එදින කොහෙ ගියත් වෙනම යනවා. Right? Other things. When you take these, the answer of these, the net answer, මෙතන සාමාන්‍ය නම් මෙතන දාන්න. මෙතන මේක වෙනම දාන්න because we have a name right here. You call this as cash generated from operations. This answer is cash generated from operations. Okay? Cash generated from operations. Well, normally that's important. Cash generated from operations. That's something very important. Cash generated from operations. Okay? Now take separately interest paid, tax paid. So those are payments. No need to put these two within brackets because we get the total and which is deducted. No need to put brackets separately for these two. Take the total and put the total in brackets. Right. So this is the answer. What is the cash generated from operations? This minus interest and taxes. So suggest me a name for this one. This should be the net cash flow from operating activities. In front of this you can say net cash flow from operating activities. Net cash flow from operating activities. Next level is investing activities. Investing activities. Sale of TP is minus. Sale of TPE plus. Purchase of intangible assets minus. Sale of intangible assets plus. Investments in shares minus. Sale of shares plus. Deposits in fixed deposits minus. Withdraw from fixed deposits plus. Interest received plus. Dividend received plus. Now need to look at all the 10 things. Take the answer here. Net cash flow from investing activities. Net cash flow from investing activities. Clear, no? Now take financing activities. Issue of shares plus. Redemption of shares minus. Then obtaining loans plus. Repayment of loans minus. Issue of debentures plus. Redemption of debentures minus. Payment to lease creditors minus. Dividend payments minus. This answer is net cash flow from financing activities. හරි. අද දේවල් තමයි ලිව්වේ. අද මම ලිව්වේ. මම ක්ලාස් එකේ මිස් කරගන්න එපා කිව්ව එක ඉතින් ඔයාලට තේරෙන්න ඕනේ ඒක මිස්ුණොත් අනිත් අල්ලන්න අමාරුයි. මොන බලලා තේරෙන්නේ. ලොකු වෙයිට් එකක් දුන්නානේ මේ දක්වා ගින්න ඔයාව. ඒ මුල මිස්ුණොත් අල්ලන්න අමාරුයි. ඊට පස්සේ කියන්නේ අර බොම්ම කඳුලක් වුණා කියලා. net change in cash and cash equivalents. This is the net change in cash and cash equivalents during the year. Is it clear? Net change in cash and cash equivalents. You can look at the net cash. Right? Net change in cash and cash equivalents. Cash account cash account receipts and payments. If this is the if you prepare the cash account, cash control account without opening and closing balances, if you just debit your receipts and if you credit your payments, this is the difference between receipts and payments. Understand? So this is the net change in cash. If you add here the opening cash balance, then the answer will be the closing balance. But we do not add only cash, that is opening cash and cash equivalents you have to add. Opening cash and cash equivalents balance you need to add here. Maintain a net cash that plus opening cash and cash equivalents. Answer will be closing cash and cash equivalents. Net cash, okay, that color. Opening cash, you will get the closing balance. So this is how you prepare the cash flow statement under the direct method. Are there any troubles, doubts, or any problems? Prashna any? Have you anything? Have you anything? I don't know. This is a part of financial statement. Cash account and cash books are those are part of financial books. Those we prepare initially in the business to record cash related transactions, but this is something we prepare at the end of the year to give this for the shareholders, for the interested parties. After cash account, those are prepared on daily basis. There are so many transactions one by one. When we prepare the cash journal, there's a big difference. Now, write this question please. Following details were extracted from. Following details were extracted from. Ruchi PLC. Ruchi. For the year ended 31st March 2022. Write this one by one. Cash sales 200,000. Purchase of land 350,000. Interest paid 90,000. Tax paid 50,000. Interest received 40,000. Dividend received 10,000. Dividend paid 15,000. Receipts from debtors 250,000. Payments to creditors 190,000. Sold a machine 80,000. Issue of ordinary shares 220,000. Interest received. Did I give it? Sorry. Why didn't I? Yeah, sorry. I have to try. Interest received. Then, now do not the operating expenses paid. Operating expenses paid 125,000. Paid to lease creditors. Paid to lease creditors 70,000. Then cash and cash equivalents balance. Cash and cash equivalents balance on 1st April 2021. Cash and cash equivalent balance on 1st April 2021 is 180,000. Is 180,000. Required. Prepare the cash flow statement. Under the direct method, prepare the cash flow statement. Under the direct method, for the year ended 31st March 2022. Right, draw the format like this. check the answers. Cash sales 200. So receive. Purchase of land investment 350 minus. Interest paid 90. You have to take it separately here in operations. And tax paid 50 also taken there. Interest received in this 40. Dividend paid financing 10 minus. Dividend received. Dividend received. Dividend received under 10. Again dividend paid 15 minus. Received from debtors. Then payment to creditors 190, that also operating. Sold machine 80. Received. Issue of shares finance 220 is the receipt. Operating expenses paid 125. Operation. Paid to lease creditors 70 should come on finance. What is that? Opening cash and cash equivalents 180. You have to take it here. Right? మేము కద్దామా ఏదైతే this is 135. Yes. Or this is 135 cash generated from operations. Then take the total of these two, that is 140. When it comes to net cash flow from operating activities, it's minus 5. Net cash flow from investing activities 230 minus. 220 minus. Yeah. Here, in financing activities, 220 minus 70 is 135 plus. Is this? So the 135 minus 5 can 130, 220 minus 130, 90, minus 90 then. Yes. Again, how does the cash flow is plus the minus? Minus. Have opening cash balance is 180. Therefore, the closing balance is 90 plus. Is it clear? Amount. In a simple way. Right. Now go to the second question. Question number 2. Question number 2. Other part, question number 2. Intro lagi pas cipta kau tu ini sebang tadi. purchase and receipts from debtors 750. Purchase and payment to creditors 200. Operating expenses 200. Tax 150. Interest paid 20. Land and building 250 investing. Issue of shares 200. Dividend received 100 and investing. Dividend paid 60 finance. Investment income 30. Purchase of investments 180. Sale of investment 100 plus. Payments of long-term loans, finance. Sale of motor vehicle 70. Deposits in fixed deposits 120. Opening balance of cash and cash equivalents 120. Minus 90 plus 1 8 minus closing balance is minus 6 again after monthly what the cash balance is not odi right මොකද හිතන්නේ මේ දක්වා කරපුවා තේරුණා cash flow statement direct method simple questions right simple exactly. Now after the break I am going to discuss that question. This is the one after the break. This is the one. I'll read the question first. බලන්න මම කියන්නේ මේකයි details relevant to silver plc right දැන් බලන්න ලියා ගන්න නැත්නම් profit and loss and other comprehensive income for the year ended 31st March 2022 sales cost of sales gross profit dividend received interest received operating expenses interest expense profit before tax income tax profit for the year then statements of financial position non-current assets on 31st March 2021 31st March 2022 property plant and equipment fixed deposits right property plant and equipment fixed deposits share investments then right then current assets they are the stock debtors prepaid operating expenses right prepaid operating expenses ඊට පස්සේ cash stated capital retained earnings bank loan creditors accrued operating expenses accrued interest provision for income tax see then under the additional information they are given some additional information Depreciation of property, plant and equipment for the year was 80,000 included in operating expenses. Company has paid interim dividends for ordinary shares during the year. Required. Cash flow statement under direct method. Cash flow statement under direct method. දැන් ඔහම ගානක් දීලා cash flow එකක් හදන්න කිව්වොත් මොකද කරන්නේ? right බලමු ඉන්ටර්වල් එකෙන් පස්සේ